What's up, my fellow trash-anators? Welcome to another video. I'm kind of upset. Just found out my videos have a 25-minute limit. So I'm going to try and speed up this review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Of course, spoilers. I will be trying to cover everything. And before that, look at that. Brand new display case. Good luck at that, because it's going to be here for the rest of time. Anyway, let's get into it. So, the movie picks up right after Spider-Man Far From Home, and yeah, I'm going to do a review of that someday. Where J. Jonah Jameson and Mysterio reveal Peter's secret that he's Spider-Man, or that Spider-Man's Peter Parker. And so, he goes home with MJ. To his house, and then we got news helicopters everywhere, and you got people trying to break in, saying, "Why'd you kill Mysterio?" Which he didn't. But that happening, that means some legal stuff happens, and freaking Daredevil from the Netflix show comes in, and he becomes Spider-Man's lawyer. That's crazy. So that happens, and while that's happening, Peter tries to finish high school, and he tries to get into MIT with MJ and Ned. But because everyone knows he's Spider-Man now, they don't accept him into MIT, because of course not. That's a pretty big deal. Don't know why these smart characters would ever think they would be able to get in after that big announcement that Mysterio made. So yeah. But he gets an idea while they found that out, because they find that out in MJ's job at a diner with Halloween stuff still up. He sees a wizard decoration. He's like, "Alright, Doctor Strange, I'll ask him if he can help." So he goes there. And he asks, "Hey, is there any way you can make people forget I'm Spider-Man?" And he's like, "We can't really reverse time because the time stone got destroyed." So, let's see. Alright. Dinner time. But I'm gonna finish this first. Alright. Let's see. So he gets this. Dr. Strange remembers a spell where he can make people forget things. So he's like, "Alright, we'll do this spell. People will forget you're Spider-Man, and you can live your normal life." But Peter adds too many things onto the spell, so the spell gets wild. Apparently, the spell applies to all universes. So every universe was gonna forget Peter Parker's Spider-Man. So yeah. Anyway, they also have this witty exchange afterwards, where Doctor Strange was like, "Alright, you at least try to apply for like a referral or whatever the fuck they say." He's like, "You could do that. You can ask for another chance at getting this college." And he's like, "You dumbass." So yeah, that happens. So Peter goes to the lady and trying to go to college with his friends, because the friends also they also weren't accepted. So yeah. But while he's on the bridge talking to her because she's on her way to the airport, Doc Ock comes out and tries to kill Peter Parker, Spidey. But this is the OG Doc Ock from the Raimi movies. So that's weird. Not sure if it's just a coincidence. You don't know. We don't know yet. But after fighting Doc Ock, and subduing him with nanobots, and can we also just admit that That's the worst Spider-Man suit ever. The MCU Iron Spider. They only reference the design with the giant golden emblem. Besides that, worst design. The MCU Iron Spider. Anyway, so yeah. He subdues Doc Ock, and the lady's like, alright, I'm gonna get you and your friends into MIT. But then all of a sudden, Green Goblin comes out of the smoke and goes to blow them up. But then Doctor Strange teleports Doc Ock and Peter into this dungeon with cages in it, with Kirk Connors. Anyway, the best Spider-Man villain, Kirk Connors, the Lizard. He's already in a cell, and he gets Doc Ock in a cell. And he's like, alright, so you know that spell? It's connected to any universe in existence. He's like, the multiverse, and Peter's like, the multiverse is real? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so that spell you messed up? Yeah. Now, anyone who knows you're Spider-Man could slip into our universe. So that's why this guy's here. And he doesn't know he knows who Spider-Man is, but he doesn't know that you're Spider-Man, even though everyone knows who Spider-Man is. And he's like, alright, whatever. And so he's like, alright, puts magic on his web shooters. And he's like, alright, go capture any other villain out there who knows you're Spider-Man or whatever. And I'll also be doing the same. So Peter finds out that there's something going on in a military base outside New York. He goes there and he stops Electro and Sandman, but Sandman's not evil because in the last movie, Sandman was on good terms with Peter, or a Peter, I should say. So he brings them back, and then all the villains start talking, and then they all find out, and Peter finds out they're all going to die. Most of them are going to die if they get teleported back. So it's like, alright, whatever. But then there's only one less villain running around, and that's Green Goblin. And Green Goblin goes to Feast, where Aunt May works at. And Peter gets him. He gets him, and Aunt May's like, what are you going to do with him? And he's like, we're going to bring him back to their universe. It's like, alright, just make sure they're safe. And it's like, whatever. And it's and he's like, you can give them another chance if they're gonna die, right? And it's like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, he brings him back. Doctor Strange is like, alright, I got this box, I'm gonna push this button, and when I do, they're gonna be transported back to their home. And Peter's like, but they're gonna die if they go back. And like, their sacrifice is gonna make everything better. And Peter just takes the box, they run away. Doctor Strange transports both of them into the mirror dimension, and Peter takes the box and his teleportation ring, leaves, traps Doctor Strange in the mirror world. And while that happens, while he's stuck there, Peter tries to cure everyone, but he needs somewhere to make the cures. So he goes to Happy's apartment, which they've been living in because their original apartment was very dangerous because everyone wants to kill him. Let's see. While they're there, there's a fabricator, and they make the things to cure them. First, they cure Doc Ock. They fix his neural link so his tentacles aren't evil anymore. And they start trying the cure for Electro by absorbing all the electricity, most of the electricity, because you still need some electricity for your brain. Anyway, let's see. While that's happening, they start making every cure, but then Peter gets the Peter tingle. And he finds out it's Green Goblin because he's evil again. He wasn't cured, he just switches because he has DID. And he's back to being Green Goblin, he's back to being evil, so he tries to stop him. But he tricks most of the villains into being evil. full on, because they were just kind of in a neutral state because Peter wants to help them, but not anymore because Green Goblin said so. Kurt, Sandman, Electro, they leave. Peter and Green Goblin fight. Doc Ock leaves for also, but he just kind of leaves the movie because they don't know what to do with him. And Peter and Green Goblin have the most brutal fights in probably the MCU in all its glory. So that happens, and then Aunt May grabs all the antidotes. She tries to cure Green Goblin once they're in the lobby. But it doesn't work, so Green Goblin takes his hover glider and impales her, and after a little bit, she dies. I heard people were talking about someone's going to die in this movie, and I was not expecting Aunt May to die. It stings a little bit more now, because earlier today we found out Betty White died before her 100th birthday. You know, as a fan of Golden Girls, it's hard to hear that news. But Betty White, we miss you already. Anyway, with that setting in, Peter goes off to sulk and absorb that information that Aunt May died. But forget that, let's have some wacky hijinks. MJ and Ned are trying to figure out how to get to Spider-Man because he hasn't talked to them. So Ned figure out he can make portals with the portal maker thing from Doctor Strange. And the first portal they open is to Spider-Man. First we realize that it's not our Spider-Man. He's lengthier, a bit skinnier, his eyes are bigger. But as soon as he walks through the portal and takes off his mask, we see it's motherfucking Andrew Garfield. The Spider-Man are in this movie. Of course, it's a Spider-Man movie, so there's gonna be Spider-Man in this movie, but this is a big deal. Now, but that wasn't the Tom Holland Spider-Man, so they try again. Second portal, it opens to a dingy apartment with an older man in it. He turns around, walks through the portal. It's Tobey motherfucking Maguire. This is a big deal. So yeah. There's 3 Spider-Men in this movie. Wow. I'm tired, so you can't probably see it, but I'm really excited about this. I just want to get this over with. So, they get the Spider-Man to help MCU Peter deal with the grief of losing his aunt, his maternal figure. Because every Spider-Man loses their aunt or uncle. They can connect and understand each other. So after Peter understands that and what he needs to do, he gets help from the other Spider-Man to develop cures, because those Spider-Man have actually dealt with the other villains. So they know how to help them. So yeah. They develop the cures and they go to the Empire State Building where they get all the villains to come and they cure them all. And there's a lot of great moments at this part that I'm not going to cover because I wanted to get this review over. That happens, and then after they cure basically every other villain and destroy the Captain America Empire State Building, Green Goblin comes and Peter and him have a fight that is almost as brutal as the first one they had. Peter almost kills him with the glider, but Tobey stops it. Just like standing there like a loving older brother. Like, this is wrong, you need to stop this, but without saying any words. So, he stops our Peter from killing Green Goblin, but Tobey gets stabbed in the back. And that's a running gag in this movie, that Tobey has back problems, because that's a real thing that happened. Tobey Maguire has back problems, like I do. Except I have an excuse. I'm tall. Whatever, that happens, they cure everyone, including Green Goblin, and they send them all back. But they also realize that the spell got loose. So, in order to stop the spell from getting loose, and even more villains coming in to try and kill Peter and everyone he loves, he makes the wise decision to make everyone forget who Peter Parker is entirely. Like, not just that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but who Peter Parker is at all. Like, he's almost gonna be erased from existence. Except he'll still be there. And after saying his goodbyes to the other Peter Parkers and MJ and Ned, he gets Doctor Strange, he's back from the mirror dimension after, and he saw that he was helping the villains, so he went along with it. He gets Doctor Strange to make everyone forget, and then everything is back to normal. Except, now in the MCU, no one knows who Peter Parker is except himself. It's weird knowing that this Spider-Man is now truly a comic accurate Spider-Man, because now he's not well known, he doesn't really have a family anymore, and he lives in a dingy apartment with a homemade suit. And let me tell you guys, the suit that he makes is really, really good. It's not as good as the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, but it's still pretty good. Anyway, that's Spider-Man No Way Home. I keep mixing it up. That's my bad. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. Except for the end credit scene where we see Tom Hardy's Venom. Also, spoiler for Venom Let There Be Carnage. I will review that next Friday. Venom was teleported into the MCU for a little bit. Like, right at the beginning of this movie, he gets teleported into the MCU. Because he knew who Spider-Man was. Or, like, Venom did, but he gets teleported, and he's asking all these questions of what's going on, what's happening, and right at the end of the movie, like, literally, he's talking to this guy at a bar right while the end of the movie's happening, and Doctor Strange sends everyone back he makes everyone forget who Spider-Man is. He gets sent back to the Sonyverse, but Venom leaves behind a little bit of himself. So now Venom is in the MCU forever, because Tom Hardy left a little bit of himself in there. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do with that, now that everyone forgot who Spider-Man is. So yeah, that's it. Nine out of 10. I really do recommend it. And I'm going to be honest, if you still haven't watched it, even though I just told you everything that's going to happen, I hate you. This movie deserves to be watched blindly. I don't care if you even saw the tiniest spoiler. You need to see this blindly, as much as possible. If you just watch this because you don't want to watch the movie until it comes out on DVD or whatever, or you just don't want to watch it so you want to see a abridged version, I hate you. Genuinely. You don't deserve to watch these movies. These are people who actually love these characters, and you do not. Anyway, that might have been controversial, I don't care, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, that's Spider-Man No Way Home. I really do love this movie, and I can't wait to watch it in a couple months on DVD. So that's that. Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys next Friday. See ya.